Okay, we are live. Hey everybody, this is Misha Houston, and we're back for our live discussion of Game of Thrones. Everybody, you want to introduce yourselves?
Hey, everybody, I'm Jen. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, no problem, Jen. Always a pleasure.
Oh, thank you.
Go ahead, Shelley. Go ahead, get it.
Okay, well, I am the crazy one. I'm Shelley, and I actually do read the books now every once in a blue moon. So, yeah, hello, everybody. I came out of the insane asylum.
You gotta start somewhere.
Okay, Alicia, are you back from refilling your drink?
Yes, indeed. The Lord
Okay.
has refilled vodka.
Okay.
And we are here sipping some shade of the evening and smoking on some werewoods. And we are going to talk about probably the only Lannister that anyone likes, and that is the little Lord himself, Tyrion. Let's go ahead and get into this. Thank you, Misha, for having me on. I appreciate your thought. Let's go ahead and get this started.
Okay, Tony, introduce yourself and we can get it started.
Tony, aka Lord Last Hearth. Glad to be here. Glad to be that you included me on your weekly streams lately. I really enjoy it. Like I said, I don't turn down an opportunity to talk Thrones, especially right now. Like my girl Alicia said, we in the long night right now, and we
Oh
gotta
yeah.
keep ourselves occupied with that juice.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I am Misha Houston. I am here every week. Happy to put these live streams up, hoping that we can get more and more people in our chat.
Our
Uh,
feckless leader.
yeah,
Amen.
thank you so much. Alicia, could you go ahead and introduce yourself and how everyone can contact you?
Oh, well, I am always about on everyone's stream. I always say you can find me on other people's channels quicker than you can find me on my own. If you like The Walking Dead, then I hang out with the Walking Bread channel. I've been voicing Michonne since issue 52. Go check them out because my boys Josh and Alex are doing some awesome things. And most recently, me and my boy, my brother over here, Last Hearth, Tony, and Lav and BBM have been did some Halloween things, and we'll be continuing that a little bit past the Halloween season with Stranger Things. We got some discussions coming up on that starting next Saturday. I believe we will be first on the Lord of Last Hearth's channel. So set your notifications, check us out, and just stay keep the watch. Keep faithful during the long night and watch for the channels. We'll be putting some stuff out there. Let's go ahead and get into this.
Okay,
All right.
Jennifer, this is your night, right?
Yeah, I guess it is.
Okay, go ahead.
And
Yeah.
what I first want to say, I want to start off with Tyrion. He is in the Library of Winterfell, and he has been up all night reading a book, which I don't know about you all, but I do that a lot. And that's why I really identify with the Tyrion character. And because I'm a great reader, I always am reading a book. And I think it's important to pay attention to the books he's reading. What the book he is reading is about the changing of the seasons. And I think that's going to come in handy. Also, he is reading when he gives instructions to the, I guess, undermaester, because we know that Maester Lewin is at Winterfell, but there's also Maester, is it Pylos? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Pylos.
But yeah,
Pylos.
okay.
Yeah.
He gives him instructions about putting up the Aramedan's engines of war. And I think this might be where he gets the idea at the Battle of Blackwater for that harbor chain. Y'all know what I'm speaking of when they have the battle, and he says, let's put a chain up to, and that is something that is still employed today to keep enemies out of harbors, is a harbor chain. So I think that's very important to take note of the books that he is reading. Also, he notices the direwolves. And ever since Bran has been injured, his direwolf has been basically down below his window howling. Okay, so he wakes up from a night of reading all night long. Well, doesn't wake up. He yawns and gets up. He stretches himself out. The undermaester is asleep, and he tells him, you know, this one book here, this is the only time I've ever seen it in its entirety. So it's very rare. So he's very diligent about how things should be cared of, that he places great importance on knowledge, which all great leaders do. I think that's important.
Real quick, can I interject one small?
Absolutely, please do.
That I think everyone should realize when it comes to libraries and books in Westeros, there are very few places that really have them in detail. Outside of the Citadel, the library that's in Winterfell is one of the most accurate and long-lived. They have many books, like my lady was just saying. There's books there that are in its entirety that are not found in the rest of the realm, and I think that's an awesome thing. Go ahead.
I do too. And you know, we always get people talking about how dim-witted the Northerners are, but are they? I mean, they have one of the best libraries in the realm, as Tyrion points out, and Tyrion would know. Tyrion would know.
Yes, they do. Excuse me, Jennifer. Yes, they do have a wonderful library, but I have to say there aren't many people in there reading like there should be. The knowledge is there. I agree with you on that, but I have to say that there aren't many people in that library. You never really see anyone that go in that library except Tyrion.
Exactly. And I know this comes later, but when somebody tries to burn that library down, do you think they're trying to kill Tyrion?
I think that was just as a distraction.
Okay. Well, it's a shame. I would hate for a library to get burnt.
Yeah, sad. The Winterfell library, I think, mimics the Library of Alexandria as well as the Citadel. And make no mistake, folks, before this story is over, the library at the Citadel will burn, just like Alexandria did.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, even with the Citadel, like that being the bastion of knowledge, like even it's almost like they forget. They show more emphasis on it in the show that they pretty much, like, when they have that room with all the, you know, the real rare tomes and the real fragile and falling apart books, like, even though they are of you know, in bad shape, they could have somebody go and copy it down, but they look at that older stuff where it's stuff that's more involved with magic and times of old. They almost look at it as like, oh, you know, we don't need to worry about that, because that, if it did ever happen, we won't have to worry about that again, kind of like feeling towards it. And it's messed up because, like, if somebody would just open their eyes, and you would think men of learning, even though they're more on a scientific level, like some things, even scientific in their realm, they kind of are like, oh no, that won't happen. Like, you know, and it's crazy for that many learned men to have that same kind of, you know, way of thinking.
Well, I think it's like Jim Broadbent's character says in the show. He says, the people, he tells Sam, the people at the Citadel aren't like the people north of the wall, and they aren't like the people south either. It's their job to question.
I agree.
You guys know what I speak of?
I agree with that. Yep, absolutely right.
Another thing, okay, so when Tyrion leaves the library and walks outside, the first people he bumps into are the Hound and Joffrey.
Mm-hmm.
And they make ugly comments about Bran taking too long to die, and they wish that wolf would shut up. And there's a comment made something like, let's send a dog to kill a dog, which is a big mistake because a wolf is not a dog. But Tyrion is the only one who ever stands up to Joffrey, so to speak.
That's true.
And he made a good point, too, about how, like, when we were just talking about how everybody thinks, like, the Northerners are dim-witted, and Joffrey's like, well, you know, we can go tell them a dog to kill a dog, and he's like, they won't miss one of the wolf, and Tyrion even makes a comment. He's like, I do think the Starks can count up to 6, unlike some princes I know.
Exactly. And he tells him he should go pay his respects, and slaps him, and Joffrey says, I'm gonna tell my mama. And he's like, you can tell her, but you go tell her after you know, go and tell the Starks that you're praying for them and anything you can do for them, etc. And that's another thing I noticed about Tyrion. For as petty as people are towards him, he always minds his courtesies.
Yes, that's true.
Hashtag no fucks given should be Tyrion's nickname. Yeah, but at the same time, when he does enjoy a bit of the privilege of his name that affords him, he knows what the right etiquette is. It's like Cersei's lessons to Sansa. Your womanly wiles, your etiquette, your kindness as a woman is what will help you in your journey. And Tyrion fully understood that 100%.
He does. He does.
I want to say something, not so much about Tyrion, but about Joffrey. This is like the first time that you really get to hear his voice and hear the words that come out of his mouth. And
you realize what a little shit he is.
Yes, absolutely.
That's one thing I noticed about this chapter. You learn a bit about Tyrion, but you also get an intimate look into the relationship of the Lannisters.
Mm-hmm. And it's a very strained relationship. And I'm very glad that they put this chapter after that fateful Bran chapter, because Bran has found out that brother and sister are fornicating. And then you see a person like Joffrey, who clearly has mental and emotional issues.
Now, I get the feeling, though, I'm sorry, Misha.
But you don't really see it at the beginning.
No, but you know what? I get the feeling when I read this chapter that Tyrion knew all along.
Oh, I think Tyrion knew. Of course, I think Tyrion knew. But other people, as a reader, we didn't know until we figured it out. But there was a really big clue as to what was going on between Jaime and Cersei and what's going on here. The other two children are beautiful and mild-mannered, but here is Joffrey, clearly that has issues with women, has issues with himself, has issues with Tyrion, has issues with everybody. And the war for Cersei's cunt. Oh God!
If you read like Dunk and Egg, and you see like the one part in it where Dunk comes across the person she's doing a puppet show, and you get to see Aerion Brightflame Targaryen for the first time.
Tansel too tall.
And Aerion, how he treats her for doing the puppet show, and like just the way Aerion comes off, and then you hear how later on he tried to drink wildfire when he was drunk to become a dragon. He reminds me a lot of Joffrey, and it makes sense because of all the inbreeding with the Targaryens. It was like they said, you always flip the coin, if it was going to be, one of they were either going to be great or they're going to be insane. And he reminds me a lot when you see the parts of like Aerion, how he uses his, status in the world to think they can do what they want. And then you can see kind of that same kind of, I guess you would call a little bit of an inbreeding insanity kind of thing with him. And they almost like kind of mirror each other in the way they act.
Joffrey is Maegor the Cruel come again. He is that opinion. Like Maegor actually had the ability to be a good king. He could have ruled very well because Aenys, I mean, let's be real about that shit. Aenys was a little bitch.
Yeah. Very bookish.
Plain and simple. And that is why Maegor was able to come in and do what he did. However, had he not had the poison of Visenya in his ear, then I think he actually had the potential to be a very good and just, even if he ruled with a firm iron grip, he had the potential to be a great king. But I think that was ruined by the influences afforded to him growing up.
Yeah, but Visenya mirrors Cersei in the same aspect. She uses her son, for power, and doesn't care how it makes him look, how it affects him with his standing in the realm. Like they hated Maegor, and it got to the point where they hated Joffrey. Like when they had the bread riots, like they wanted to kill him. They was trying to rip him apart.
Right. It wasn't about the hatred of the king. It was about the hatred of the people behind him. When it came to Maegor, they hated Visenya and everything that was going on with her. When it came to Joffrey, everyone hated Cersei, which is why Cersei paid some of the prices that she did for giving Joffrey the power that she did.
And speaking of the inbreeding aspect, I want to point out that Joanna Lannister was Tywin Lannister's first cousin. And it may explain some of the insanity in Cersei. I mean, because they were first cousins. They got married, had sex, and had children, 3 children, I believe. And she died from Tyrion, and her first child was Cersei, I believe. And that first child was insane, and now she's passing that insanity on to her first child, Joffrey, or supposedly Joffrey.
Oh, that's a good catch.
Yeah.
That's a really good catch. And, you know,
Mhm.
a lot of the rulers in Europe, they're all related. They're all
Yeah.
first cousins, especially Victoria's children. They were plagued with hemophilia and peripheral and, you know, just disorders basically from marrying cousin.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to keep the bloodlines pure
Sure.
is one of the things outside of the Maesters causing the Dance of Dragons is one of the things that ruined the Targaryen dynasty. And I won't go into that other part I just mentioned because that's tinfoil. Let's just stick with this chapter.
Okay. Yeah. Go on ahead, Jennifer, with your overview.
Okay, so we see Tyrion stand up to really the Hound and Joffrey, but the Hound really, even early on, you can see that he doesn't hate any one person. He pretty much resents everybody, and he tells Tyrion, he says, you know, you're making an enemy of him, which he does. He makes a big time enemy of Joffrey, as we do see later. And then the next scene that we come to is him going to have breakfast with his family.
Mm-hmm.
And they speak about the fact that Bran may recover, and he notices the slight look between Jaime and Cersei, and I do believe the whole time Tyrion suspected that they might have played a part in that accident, though he would never betray his family. And I believe that when he says that, actually, when Jaime says something to him, and he even mentions how Jaime is one of the only people who has ever shown him any bit of kindness.
Mm-hmm.
So he forgives Jaime of anything. And at this point in our story, Jaime is still very feckless and doesn't really take too much seriously. He reminds me of a true American. People think that we care about this and we care about that, when the truth is most Americans only care about what's going on in their immediate life.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's very true. It's so
And
hard
that's
to care
that's
about
how I
anything
see
else.
Jaime. Unless it's directly affecting Jaime, at the beginning of our story, he doesn't really give it much thought.
But I mean, he is very much in a very serious situation. He has committed treason by
Very
attacking
much
that
so.
child, and he is so flippant about it. He was flippant about it last time in the last chapter, in the Bran chapter, when he pushed that boy out that window. And he hasn't learned yet. And there's part of the reason why I applaud Jaime later on in the books, because he gets serious. He really goes and gets serious. Oh, okay. You gotta go, Alicia.
Although,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got
Okay.
to allow, you know, with the holiday season coming up and this weekend's a 3-day weekend.
Okay.
Humans are a bit rambunctious, and I don't want to interrupt the stream with that.
Oh, it's no problem.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for joining us for the
I
family.
Thank you.
appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
It's, it's no problem.
I'll see you Saturday, Alicia.
Right.
I catch y'all. If y'all like Stranger Things, hit up Lord of Last Hearth channel next Saturday. We're gonna be on with Live and BBM talking about this season 2.
Okay.
Okay, cool. I haven't had a chance to catch it yet, but I do watch it.
yeah, I need to catch up on season 2 my own self. So
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Thank you, Alicia, and good night.
Have a great night.
You too.
All
Okay.
right.
now, Misha,
It's always good to have an extra guest.
Yes,
Um,
true. What is it, Shelley? Say my name.
Now, you were sitting down and talking about how Jaime is maybe going to look to get his redemption arc soon, like because now his character has been built up more and he actually sees the error of his ways.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I do wonder is if he ends up having to atone in one way or another for what he did to Bran and pretty much trying to kill the boy in the first place. So.
Well, let me say this. I mean, the losing of the hand, if I recall, he pushed Bran out with the same hand he lost.
Exactly.
Yeah. And also his own favorite child killed himself by jumping out a window.
Well, I
True.
mean, now that has not happened in the books. Let me tell you that. That's just for the show. But I
You're
do
right.
believe that
You're right.
those children may end up dying at one point before
I
the
do
books
believe
are
they're going to
over.
die.
And but Jamie, to me, in my opinion, I feel that he has atoned, at least unknowingly and unwittingly atoned for his treatment of Bran,
I think so as
because he
well.
did
And
lose his hand.
it didn't happen either until, like, okay, even in this chapter, some of the discourse between him and Jamie says, give me a good, quick, clean death any day
Hmm.
over being a cripple or a
Yeah.
grotesque.
Right.
Tyrion
Hmm.
later becomes part of a grotesquerie, or basically like a
Yeah.
sideshow.
Yeah. I understand. Yeah, that's a good
Okay, and he says,
foreshadowing.
no, give me, and Tyrion tells him, no, give me life any day. Death is so final. Well, then when Jamie loses his hand, though he is down for a while, Brienne really talks to him and builds him back up. And in the end, he's a much better person because he's developed some empathy for
Hmm.
people who are not, all his life things came easy to him. He was a great
Yeah.
fighter. He had a great name. He was rich. He was attractive.
Hmm.
And then when some of that was taken from, he had to have something taken.
Yes, true. It seems like that's a lot. That's a big theme in these books. Something horrible has to happen before these people step up. And it's sad, but apparently it is true in the books and it's true of the show. It seems to be that something horrible has to happen, some kind of horrible tragedy has to befall these people before they make a good change for the better. Jennifer, you want to go on with your
Sure.
overview?
All right.
Yeah.
So Tyrion tells when they're at breakfast, Tommen, says he doesn't want Bran to die, neither does Marcella, showing their goodness,
Mm-hmm.
and their goodness of humanity and whatnot. Of course, we saw Joffrey; he's just a right little shit, completely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I get the impression, even when reading the books, that Tyrion, he doesn't want to know, but he suspects perhaps, he notices the look that passes just very briefly between Cersei and Jamie when he says Bran might not die, that his back is broken and his legs are shattered, but he might yet live. And the two youngest Lannister children, who we know are, not as bad as Joffrey, seem to be pretty good kids, are glad. And then Tyrion, Jamie says something to Tyrion about, you would think that you weren't on our side, basically. And he's like, you wound me, brother. You know how much I love my family. And then he also says that he is going to go to the wall with Benjen Stark and his brother's bastard. He refers to Jon Snow, not as Jon Snow, but as his brother's bastard. Talking about Benjen Stark. Talking about, Jon Snow being his brother's bastard. And that
Mm-hmm.
he's going to go to the wall because he wants to piss off the wall and see the edge of the world.
I mean,
And
go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I have to say this about him going to the wall. He said it in such a foolish way, but I really think it was really, adventurous and outgoing and brave of Tyrion to go, to the wall, to meet the people of the Night's Watch, to see the wall in its entirety, to stand upon it, to hear their problems and hear what they're going through at the wall.
Hmm.
Well, you don't see anybody else doing it, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
no one else really does that. No one else in that family thought about the wall except him.
And no
And
one else even cared about those people up there.
yeah, exactly. He cared enough to make the journey, and it's a long journey in the book too. It's a really
It
really long
is.
journey for John, and I think we're gonna have that journey next week. And it's a really really long journey. I think it took like maybe 2 weeks, I believe, to get up there, and it's just quite a journey. And I'm so proud of him for making that journey, for exploring all of the North, not just Winterfell and the beautiful countryside, but to see, the true North,
Mm.
the true North, the North, up by the wall, to look past the wall, to see what's out there, from his view of the wall, to experience it at night and at day and see the people who are actually there, to talk to the head seniority, to talk to Mormonts and Maester Amon and all of the others and make that journey. I was really proud of him. It really
Yeah.
showed how adaptive he was to make it
Also,
there.
another quality you see in a leader. And he always wanted to travel, and his father told him no. He
Yeah,
wanted to be like his Uncle Gary and the one that lost Bright with the name of the sword, Bright Roar, their family Valerian sword. And he went off kind of like Euron Greyjoy is what I always think of. Like, he went off on this wild expedition, except for he didn't come back.
And I have to say, excuse me.
No, that's all I was going to say. I was just going to say that in the books, and I think he has been mentioned on the show, but he is still missing, presumed dead, along with their family sword.
Yeah, Tyrion Lannister, I believe. Yes. And Shelley, I really envy you being a first-time reader. You're gonna be so amazed by Tyrion's journey. He goes through some amazing things that I never thought that he would survive. He travels all over Westeros in that first book. He gets into it, and I just love him for that.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
It also shows like his smarts, like for him being a dwarf and not being, of the martial prowess like most of the characters we come across. He uses his brain in ways that, what I mean, his brain compensates for everything he lacks. And that's what I think like, is the best part about it. Because we look at him, he even compares himself to like John being like, a crippled and bastards being like of the same same thread. So it's like, but in the same sense, he was the one kind of telling John like, don't if you are first to put out your shortcomings and people can't use them against you. So he doesn't dwell on like, he's a dwarf and he's not a fighter and blah blah blah, but he takes what he does have and he uses that better than anybody he ever comes in contact with.
And I think it's also a case of, like we talked about last week, how Bran mind develops so fully, perhaps, like they say, deaf people see things other people don't see, blind people hear things other people don't hear. All he has is his wits and his mind. Therefore, and he tells, and like what you're talking about, Tony, when he's talking to John, and instead of making that a weakness, he makes it an asset.
Yes, he's very, very intelligent character and very wily and very adaptive. And that's how he survived throughout all of these 5 books, just plainly by his wits. And it's amazing.
And that's one of my favorite parts of the TV show, y'all, is when people always make the imp jokes or the short joke. And he's like, it's really the same 5 or so jokes, really.
Yeah, he's not even phased by it. But what
he's heard it so much.
Yeah, what I have to say about Tyrion, and this is a negative in his column, he has such a deep self-loathing. I think the reason that the other people insult him doesn't affect him because he's more listening to the voice inside of his head. That voice is telling him what a bad person he is. He said something like, I wonder what it would be like if I had a twin. And he thinks it would be dreadful. He has such a deep self-loathing of himself, and that's not really shown in the show, Shelley.
He's very self-depreciating.
Yes.
And that's why nobody can hurt his feelings, because he really hurts his feelings more than anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And he has a very, very dark edge to him in the books, and as in regards to the show, Shelley. He says and does some things that will make you jump back.
And I mean, they did show a little bit of that in certain aspects, but they really didn't dive into what he really thinks about himself and everything.
Yeah.
And when like watching the actual show, like you do see how sometimes when he's talking about himself, he will make like small jokes about himself as well. And for the show watcher, we sit down and we're like, well, that's a little twisted. Like with the way he refers to himself, it sounds like
Jennifer,
it's a
what you
joke.
doing back there? Excuse me, Shelley. I'm sorry. Jennifer, girl, what you doing?
I'm sorry, y'all flush the toilet.
Oh, sorry, girl.
I take a little gross perversion and being able to have the picture up and do whatever I want.
Yeah.
No, that's me too. Because I'll sit down and I'll flush toilets and I'll go to the bathroom and I'll still conversate with y'all. Don't even care. But
Right. You busted me though. You busted me, Misha.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Shelley.
all
I'm
right.
sorry.
You're okay. So when it comes to like the show, like he has a dark humor. So and because it is humorous, like a lot of us as far as show watchers really don't see the actual like underlying thought processes of Tyrion. And that's why like when I went through and I was reading through the chapter, I realized that the only difference between the actual chapter and a part of the actual episode where all of this was shown was that backstory and that mindset of Tyrion. Compared to that, the whole episode,
Yeah,
like
that breakfast scene is almost verbatim in the
it
show.
Yes, it
pretty
is.
much is almost verbatim. And when he turns around and he goes to slap Joffrey, like there's a little more dialogue, but compared to that, like it was spot on as well.
Yeah.
And like and that's why that's why it's so sad sitting down and thinking about how Dan and Dave just turn around and just completely fucked over the rest of the series.
Right, and I
Because
tell everybody this. Basically, until the third season and the Red Wedding, it's one of the most well done books to show
Yeah.
that I've ever
Yes.
seen.
Mhm.
Now
Yes.
I can't speak to the rest, because it's in a book we haven't got yet. But you can read up to I think Storm of Swords in it and watch the show. I feel like and not be spoiled.
Yeah. And so that's why just going through it my own self, like I really wouldn't be able to put too much of 2 cents on it because it's almost verbatim. And the only difference that for people who are still thinking about reading the books, and if you've been just into the show is that just keep in mind that there are aspects of these characters that you don't see that plays out too much. Like you don't see too much of their thought processes and you don't see too much of the actual plans and stuff that they're doing their own selves behind the scenes. So the behind the scenes stuff and then their actual thought processes of these scenes is just the only thing that you're not getting as far as context in the beginning of the actual the show. But
is anybody watching the chat?
Yeah, I'm watching the chat, and Money G has joined us. Hey, Money.
Oh, hey, Moni.
Hey, Moni.
Hey, Money.
Yeah,
But
I mean, go ahead.
but that's probably the only difference is that like the thought processes that Bran had when he was climbing up the actual tower, and then the conversation and how it had gone through, like just the little details of the behind the scenes of those episodes is what I'm getting when I'm reading this. But verbatim, I it's almost like I'm reading what it is that I just watched,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
but
I tell everybody that who's like, oh, I'm going to wait to the end to read or whatever. You can read up to Storm of Swords and definitely not be spoiled, and it's very well done.
No, and all you do is you just get a little bit more of the actual story behind what's going on. but everything is pretty much like you can sit down, read the chapter, and then go right back and see on the actual show and in the episode, and it plays out just about the same way. The only difference is that now you have a little bit more of a backstory as to why it is you're seeing it in the show. But compared to that, it's spot on. It's so spot on that there's not too much that I can even offer as far as the episode is concerned, you know?
Yeah, I gotcha.
The one thing that really stood out to me was that conversation that they had at the dinner table and at the breakfast table, rather.
And the look that Jamie and Cersei gave each other, because that was a clear tell right there.
Yeah, but I also want to talk about how Tyrion says that he loves his family. And it was really, really obvious that he doesn't. Jamie really was the glue that was pretty much holding him to everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just, I mean, I just felt like I could hear him. I could hear the sarcasm in his voice. I could hear the darkness and the tone in his voice as I read that. And as he said, you know how much I love my family. And you can just tell that it's not even true. I mean, he showed more care for those books in that library than he ever did for, his family. I mean,
well, the only thing that I would argue about that is that I think when it comes to his like immediate family, like his sister and his father, then yes, of course, there's no love there. There's no love lost. But I think that if Tyrion was to say it like, okay, well, I do care about my family. He does care about his niece and his nephews. And he has somewhat of a heart for his brother because his brother has always been so kind. But as far as being a Lannister and being associated with like his sister and his father and the prestige and everything, then no, he could care two F's about it. But
I disagree, you guys. I completely disagree. He is being sarcastic when he makes that statement, but he is loyal to his family, and that is why he is so hurt when his own father is going to have him killed for something his father knows he didn't do. Because no matter the fact that he loathes his father, that he loathes his sister, he is loyal. He is a Lannister up until that point. And then the only person he does care for is his nieces and nephews and Jamie.
And that's why for me, it's kind of like he's straddling both the fact that he does love his family and he doesn't love his family, which is why it comes off so sarcastic, because he maybe in that moment he can actually sit down and say, okay, well, I love my family, but don't you have to go kind of deal. It was like, it felt like the sarcastic but that was waiting to be said, but then he never goes into it because everybody already understands what that extra part of the sentence is that, oh yeah, I love my family, but certain people need to go. And that's kind of the way that it felt like. It was a lingering kind of a statement that was weighed on both ends, and it's like, in a sense he is kind of joking, but then in a sense he is kind of real, and it just depends on who it is that you're talking about or who it is.
Exactly. I think you have to take into account the fact that he's talking to Jamie, who he does have a rapport with, and also Jamie is very flip, very flippant about things, doesn't take things very seriously. And I think he's being sarcastic, yes, but I do believe at this point in our story, he is 100% a loyal Lannister.
Even if he doesn't want to be or not, he, at least in this part of the early stages of the story.
Now, that's just me, though. The fact that you got something different out of it, that's what these discussions are all about.
And that's why it's kind of like I kind of like agree with both you and Misha. Like, there is a sense that he does love his family, but then there's a sense that he doesn't love his family, and and I think it's just in context of who it is that he would consider as family, because obviously he's not going to think of his own father as a father figure, because Tywin just looks at him like Tyrion is just the plague on legs kind of deal, you know? And Cersei feels the same way because that's how her father feels. And so it's like, it's kind of, that's why it felt so weighted. Like it felt like when he said, oh, you know, I love my family, I was waiting for that but to come through. But it never did.
Well, and have you guys ever noticed Tywin, one of his main instruments is pitting sibling against sibling, like who can accomplish more, who can do better. And I relate to that. I mean, if I had to pick a house that I would probably be from in the story, though I would love to say that, you know, my family was all Leave It to Beaver like the Stark, I would have to say we're probably more like the Lannisters. I'm serious.
I'm talking to Money G right now, and I think she wants to get on the panel.
Oh, awesome! Yeah.
Money, if you can hear me, babe, give me your Gmail address in the Hangouts if you can. Shelley, Money G says, Shelley, we all love a good butt.
And see, that's I swear that's it felt like it was they were just like he was just needing that one butt kind of deal, you know. And so like and so I'm trying to think of like, I don't know, like, did anybody else kind of feel like that sentence wasn't complete? Because to me, it just didn't feel complete.
What sentence? The last sentence?
Yeah, we're going to
Oh, yeah. At the end?
Sister family, but then there's just, it feels like the way that he said it like there was more that was supposed to be said, but he just cut it short to leave it alone kind of deal, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't. I mean, we're gonna have to agree to disagree. I don't believe he ever really loved his family. They never loved him.
You know, and I can get down with that. I can get down, and I don't think there was any love lost from his father and Cersei. I feel like he felt slighted and belittled by them at every turn. But he has true love for Jaime.
Yeah, that's true.
And he has true love for his niece and nephew, Marcella and Tommen. Now,
I do.
Joffrey. Yeah. He thinks Joffrey's fruit of the poison tree.
I will kind of question the actual love that he has for Jaime, because I think it's not an actual like, oh, well, I love my brother. I think it's more like, oh, well, you know, my brother is nice to me compared to everyone else. So I don't know if I would call it like Tyrion tolerates Jaime, but I don't know if I would call their relationship like brotherly love. It's just kind of like a mutual, okay, well, you don't treat me like crap, so I won't treat you like crap kind of story, you know?
They have a fondness for each other. And also, you know, just like how Tyrion, it's almost like with Jaime and with Tywin, like how Tywin said he did Tyrion a favor by not carrying him into the sea, by keeping him alive. It's almost like the Lannisters, Tywin, Cersei, and Jaime, like they dare anybody to make fun of them to their face. Mm-hmm. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's almost like they have to put up a brave front of, I'm a Lannister, I can do no wrong. You can't talk crap to me, or I dare you to do so. You know what I mean?
Right. But then you have Tyrion, who's more like, he's kind of like the jester of the family, and he's just like, he takes on the jokes, even jokes on his own self kind of deal, because the rest of them can't take a joke as far as being a Lannister is concerned. But because even his own blood looked down upon him, then that's why Tyrion is able to say, okay, well, you know, I don't need to take myself as seriously as they do kind of deal, you know?
Hold on, you guys. I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead and keep the chat going if you will. Okay.
I will. I want to apologize to the chat. I'm normally diligent about watching the chat, but make no mistake about it, we've had issues over here between the refrigerator break-in and just other things, and I don't have internet right now, so I can't be on my computer, and then I usually watch the chat from my phone, and I can't do both, and I apologize. But hey, that's real talk right there. It's a poor house, but a proud one. And see, I can appreciate self-deprecating humor because I grew up a little bit on that as well. Tony, we hadn't heard anything from you. How about you, bud?
About what? Tyrion?
Anything? Yeah, what do you think about the Tyrion-Jaime relationship?
I mean, I think Tyrion, the reason like them two have the relationship they do have, and like I do think he really cares for Jaime because Jaime might have his qualms about how like, we all have our qualms about Jaime in the way he comes off like very like posh and not being really selfish, and I can't really hate on Jaime when it comes to like putting your family above all, because I mean most people would do that, but like with Tyrion, he has the relationship that Jaime has with Tyrion is unique in the fact that everybody looks at Tyrion, even his own family members, his dad, probably extended family, cousins, all that, like how he's this abomination. He's not that typical like Lannister, like looking Lannister because of how he's a dwarf and he's got the misshapen features. His eyes are two colors, and it's like Jaime like pretty much puts all that aside. That's like as if Tyrion's a regular person, and that's like the one thing I always liked about Jaime. Jaime could have been just as bad as Cersei.
Kind of snobbish like Cersei.
Right.
Cersei's ashamed of her brother.
Excuse me, both. I'm sorry, Shelley. I sent you a message on Hangout. Can you check it for me?
Yeah, hold on.
Message. Excuse me, y'all. Go ahead.
And I want to cite something to show that there is love between Jaime and Tyrion. Tyrion saying he never bets against his brother. Remember when the deal came up with Littlefinger's dagger and all that? And he's like, that's bullshit because I would never bet against Jaime.
Right.
I think that shows some of the brotherly love that they have, that, Tyrion's always on Jaime's side, and he views Jaime as always being on, kind of always taking his side.
Right. And like the first thing he thinks about, every time he gets in these situations where, he needs somebody to fight for him. Like even when Jaime has one hand, he still, is thinking of Jaime first to fight for him because he knows no matter, the things and the handicaps that Jaime has now, like he still would give, every ounce of what he had to try to save his brother. It isn't just like with Tywin, how, he says when Tyrion gets kidnapped or arrested by Catelyn, and it says like, even though, Tyrion is who he is to Tywin, Tyrion's still a Lannister, and it's about they arrested the name, not so much Tyrion.
Right, it's about it makes their house look weak.
Right, and that's like with Jaime, I think it's more, that he actually looks at him as a brother, not just because he's another Lannister that was taken by a Stark. Well,
like he told Cersei in the show, what did I do to get that stunted little shit back? What do you think I would do for Jaime? And he means it. He means
it. Excuse me, guys. I am trying to reach out to Don the Kraken Wit to try to invite him onto the stream. Jennifer, are you all right with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. What about you, Tom?
Yeah, I'm cool.
Okay. He may not, but I'm just inviting him anyway. Okay.
I'm cool with it too.
Okay. Thanks, babe.
Stop, kid. Sorry.
So go on with the conversation. You don't have to stop.
No, they was saying, but
Mhm.
with Tyrion about like with Jamie, it's like that's the one thing I did because I really like despised Jamie in the beginning. Like my thing is too, like a lot of people will get like real protective of Jamie when you talk about how like you don't like Jamie. They're like, well, he's on this redemption arc. Okay, he might be, but it wasn't. He didn't go on this redemption. In my opinion, he didn't go on this redemption by choice. He got his hand chopped off, and he had to see how it was to live, with people looking at you as a cripple and less than. And I think that maybe opened him up more. I think if that would have never happened, and he would never, take even the taking capture part by Rob Stark. I don't think would have changed his ways because even when he's in the cell and he's got, he's telling Catelyn all of the stuff he does, how he sleeps with Cersei, he don't care, and he push Bran out the window and do it again. But like when he got that hand cut off, it made him actually, take in what like his brother's going through, how these bastards and all the cripples in the world have to go through. And I think that's what pushed him into opening his eyes a little because now, it's like he was punished karma, for all the things he done and put people down. Now you're that person. So it's like I don't look at Jim like, oh, he's on this big redemption and he's turned into a good guy. No, he's pretty much forced in that on that path. I don't look at it as like, one day he got up and said, you know what, I'm going to stop treating people this way. No, he got one hand, and that's how you're going to have to deal with shit, you know what I mean? Because you don't want nobody, it's always like you want to be treated, how you want to be treated. So it's like if you don't want, people talking down, you calling you handicapped, you can't be going around doing it to other people. For one, it looks stupid because who are you? You got one hand.
Well, I will wonder though, because when I my own self think that Jamie started changing when he had met Brienne, and when Brienne was kind of like challenging him to look at things differently and to consider himself to actually be a knight and to be someone of honor. Like she pretty much just like dogged him out. And with her and her influence, I do wonder if that was where he actually had that
I think
change
it
of heart
was.
first.
And he never, but he finds Jamie would be looked upon much differently if people knew the actual events and the way they played out when he killed King Ares. But he doesn't feel like he owes anybody an explanation. Kind of like he's everybody's boss. Like, if I fire you, I fire you. I don't owe you an explanation. And that's kind of the persona and the attitude he has. I'm Jamie Lannister. I don't owe you an explanation. You weren't there. However, if most people knew the truth, he did what most people would have done and what a lot of people would not, I mean, do you follow crazy?
But that's almost a double-edged sword, though. If you feel as though you don't owe nobody explanation, then you can't feel that these people should address you as Sir Jamie and not Kingslayer. So, like,
Exactly.
even if he says to Brienne about how, like, oh well, do you think the Honorable Ned Stark would have believed me? Okay, that's your your opinion on, but that doesn't mean that you can't put it out there. You put it out there, and people gonna take it how they want to take it. That's out of that. It's out of your hands.
And I think that's what he thought. And then he was like, he even says, why would the lion bow to the wolf? Why would the lion bow to the wolf? And that's his thing, is he doesn't feel as though and the first person we see that he really cares what they think, because he's jaded. Jamie's a very jaded person because he sees the double dealing and the shit that people do. Right. But the first person that he sees as an actual true honorable knight that he's seen in a long time is Brienne, who is not actually a knight, and he gives her an explanation. And that's when I see a real turning point with Jamie.
Oh, yeah.
When he deigns to explain himself to somebody.
Oh, yeah. Brienne was probably the best thing that ever happened to him. I mean, she was the mirror of what he could be and what he used to be. and
what he wanted to
what he
be.
wanted, what he wanted, before he cracked up and became dirty.
Yeah,
And
I give him more credit in the book because the one thing he used to make me so mad about Jamie, especially in the show, is when like he just keeps taking Cersei's shit, and I'm like, come on, and like even when she says something ignorant to him, all he says, "I love you too," or some shit. You know what I mean? And it's like in the book, he kind of gives up on her a lot quicker because like even when she's sending the Raven asking for his help because he's taken by the faith, she's taken by the faith. He pretty much is like whatever. He's like, I'm
Yeah,
taking
he
care of shit
blows
right
that
now.
off.
Yeah, and even in the show, like it literally the thing that made me so mad, but I guess he might have known, but I mean, I guess he wouldn't fully have the feeling because of the fact that like when she gets what's her name, Alaria Sand and Tyene from Euron, and how she's down in the dungeons and she
I
gives
love
her the
that
same
crazy shit.
poison,
I love
and
that.
and she has Alaria wants Alaria to survive to see her daughter die, and then she comes straight up from that and like jumps Jamie and like. I'm thinking to myself, she ain't lusting for Jamie. She's lusting over the fact that she just tortured somebody and is going to have them die as revenge. So it sexually turned her on. It wasn't Jamie. It's just Jamie's the one there for her, to fill her need. Like it wasn't even nothing to do with Jamie. It was like she was getting off on the fact that she got her revenge, and she turned it into a
I'm going to get a
sexual
little
thing.
R-rated here, and I'm going to say that is 100% a grudge fuck.
Yeah, I mean, but he don't even look at it like that. Like I feel some type of way, you know what I mean? If my woman's like don't want to touch me for the past month, and then all of a sudden she doing some sadistic shit downstairs in the basement, and then you want to come up and start getting freaky, like I'm like, hold on,
Definitely.
this ain't got nothing to do with me. I feel some type of way.
And that's why I love that crazy Cersei in the show. I love that shit. It's
I'd
so
be feeling real
crazy.
insecure if that shit was me. I'm like, come on.
You mean the part where Jamie just turns around and just takes her in the crypt and just goes after it?
No.
This is
We're talking about
that the same poison to Tyene as they did Marcella, and she tells Alaria, "I'm gonna keep you alive so you can sit here and watch your daughter die." And like she right after that, she literally goes right in the bedroom.
upstairs.
Yeah, and then she just pretty much goes and rapes poor Jamie. And yeah, and at first he's trying to push her off, and she's like, "Oh hell no!
He's got this look like, oh, finally come around. Like, no, she just got done torturing cats. That's why she felt good. like Cersei sadistic.
I'll admit it. I love that crazy Cersei shit. That is so crazy.
She does a great. Edie does a great job.
Yes, she does.
That's
Man, if
one
she don't
part
win an
I think
Emmy this year, it's bullshit.
That's one character I think from the book that I like more in the show is how her portrayal of Cersei, because she really does a good job making you hate her.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Lena Headey is an excellent actress.
Yeah, she is. She is. Look, and that's when I watched that episode. That's the episode I watched the most this year. She grabs her hand and she's like, "I know how you feel. I do." And I mean, I just love it. I love it so much. And the two girls, the lady who plays Alaria Sand, I can't think of her name, but she was in Rome. And I always liked her, and I was glad to see her in something else. Oh, and even the daughter, the look of horror on her face, and she's like, "Mama." Yeah, like.
Oh yeah, that was just priceless. How she just looks at her mom, and they're just trying their hardest.
And they're from Doran. They know about the poisons. You know, they've used them themselves. I mean, Cersei couldn't have thought out a better revenge.
I think those sand snakes got what they. Not even talking about what they did to Marcella. It's like they killed their own family like it was nothing. Like she put the spear in the back of Tristane's head, killed Doran. I understand if you don't think Doran's doing what she's supposed to do, but that's still your family. You know what I mean? And it's like they just dispatched them like it was nothing. You know what I mean? What do you think was, and then the way they, they looked down on kinslaying and guest right. Did you think you was gonna have a smooth path to your, you taking over Doran? Even if most of the people feel that way, like you pretty much set yourself up for everything that happened to you. And I'm not even talking about the Marcella part. Is the way you killed your kin off. Like, it was nothing. We need to take over.
And you know, the crazy thing is Oberyn would not have been down for that.
Hell no.
In the books, Oberyn is very loyal. He's very loyal to his brother. He doesn't covet being Prince of Dorne at all.
No,
he's glad for the life he has.
That's true.
He's traveled. He's done everything he's wanted to do. Slept with the most beautiful men and women, as he said. I miss Oberyn too. Does anybody watch Narcos? That's a pretty good show.
Yeah.
No.
That's a decent show. If you ain't got nothing to do, that's on Netflix. Y'all check that out.
Yeah, Pedro Pascal is in that show. The man.
Oh yeah, he's hot to me. He's hot to me.
He was so sexy. I loved Oberyn, and I think Pedro Pascal did a good job too, as well. I just loved him. He was the only good part of Dorne, you know, in my opinion.
Oh, my dad loved him. My dad loved him.
Yeah, he just stole the show right out from under Dorne. He was Dorne, and then when they had to kill him off, you know, in the arena, it just took a downturn for Dorne.
Yeah, and I had read the book, so I knew that was coming, and I hated that.
Yeah,
I loved watching that.
I was watching it with a group of people that I know, and like none of them had read the book, and they're all like, because they're, you know, you see Oberyn like toys with it, and they're like, yeah, and they were all like betting, look, he's gonna beat him, watch, he's gonna beat him, and I'm like just trying to sit there and not show any kind of sign.
I know, right? You're just
and then when they see
like,
me start talking, and you see everybody's
broken.
like attitude going like, oh man, he gonna screw this up, and then when they squirt his head, they're like, oh, and I was like,
well, you know, it's like watching a damn Alabama football game. When they start celebrating and there's still or the Saints, they start celebrating. There's still 2 damn minutes left in the game. Quit it. Quit it with that celebrating before you have won.
I love you, Jen. Oh my God, they do that in football though. They're already sitting there like, we already got this in the bag. They're doing their victory dances and stuff. It's like, we got 2 minutes. Can you stop?
Yeah, I was at the Saints game Sunday, y'all. It was me and Russell's 6-year anniversary. And we whooped the Buccaneers so bad. The only good part of the game was when Crab Leg Steeler started shit with Lattimore. And it caused a ruckus on the sideline. And I had a delicious smoothie from the Smoothie King. That's about all I remember. I was buzzed.
Man, I love those smoothies from Smoothie King.
I do too, man. I can't remember which one I had, girl. It was $8.50, so I can tell you that.
Oh wow!
See,
it was delicious though. I think it was strawberry here.
Yeah, because that sounds like Jamba Juice out here.
Yeah, I miss Jamba Juice too. I want to give a shout out to Septa Shayna Sapphires joining us in our chat. Thank you so much.
Oh, hey, Septa Shayna, how you doing?
Septa Shayna says Tyrion has the best chest in all of Game of Thrones.
She does have a nice rack. She does.
Oh Lord, everyone just loved her boobs. Oh God.
Yeah, I like those boobs that are kind of perky like that. You know, I've seen a lot of titties in my life.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. I like those perky ones that don't droop at all. I think, you know, being a rather big-chested woman, I've always wondered what it would be like not to have to wear a bra.
Okay. I remember when I was a kid and I never had to wear a bra, and then all of a sudden I had to wear a bra for the rest of my dang life. Like, what the hell? One minute you go to sleep and you're flat chested, the next minute you going in being measured, and it's all over from there.
Oh, Lord have mercy. How did this happen? Maybe I shouldn't have said anything about it.
I remember when I started having to wear a bra, I was in the 5th grade and I was at Fun Time skating rink, and apparently I bent over and somebody saw down my shirt, and the next thing I know, the whole 5th grade is talking about how I didn't wear a bra. So then I had to start wearing it.
Man.
Okay. Okay, I don't want to talk about boobs anymore. Forgive me. I don't want to talk about boobs.
Well, we see a lot of them on Game of Thrones. I had a lot of boobs on Game of Thrones. I'm going to tell y'all what. Lysa Arryn got some breast implants after that first season she was in with them saggy titties. And in the next season, if you look close, she didn't have a lift. I said, no, I'm for real.
No, I know. She did though, because I think what they told her was that she had to kind of make it look like she was still breastfeeding, and I don't know, when you're breastfeeding you still have the perkiness that's going on because they're filled with the milk kind of deal, you know.
Okay, y'all. I'll be right back.
All right. Sorry about the titty talk, but we do see a lot of breastises in the Game of
Yeah, I
Thrones.
know. Yeah, they don't shy. Yeah, they
Oh
don't
wait,
shy away. Yeah, they don't
I
shy
well,
away from the nudity in Game of Thrones. It's just a part.
well sit down and I'll get into my titty story real quick, just to say real quick, because I was around the same age, like I think it was like fourth grade, and we had to do a multicultural fair, and all the other girls in my class were able to turn around into stuff like the little fake bras because we were all doing like a hula dance. Me, on the other hand, because I already had too much titty, I wasn't even allowed to wear the little makeshift bras that they had gotten the girls and stuff. So I had to go out wearing a one-piece bathing suit.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. And so I'm sitting there in a flowery bathing suit. All the other girls are wearing like these coconut-looking fake things, and they're all filled with tissue because none of them have boobs. And I'm just like, yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
goodness.
it was the greatest. I already had too much titty even for the fake bras that they brought.
Oh, Lord, have mercy. Yeah, we do see a lot of nudity in Game of Thrones, and I believe they have cut a lot of that out, actually.
They did. I think that happened because of the Sansa rape scene, if I'm not mistaken. Like ever since that rape scene, all the nudity just went from extreme to barely there. It was either that or when they showed Pycelle and his little pecker, and oh my god. I'm sorry. I just reminded myself of that scene and I'm like, oh no.
Like Braun said, nothing fucks you harder than time. Oh, Lord. Well, this was a relatively short chapter, actually.
Yeah, it was. And verbatim, it was pretty much what happened in the episode itself too.
It was. That's why I say, to about the third book, it's extremely, extremely on point.
Yeah. And that's why, like, for anybody who's probably watching or who watches us afterwards and you still haven't decided to pick up the book, it's actually, it's not as bad as what we thought it would be, because I know that a lot of us think that when we're reading or when we're watching the show, that if we were to read the book, it would take away from the show. As far as for my own self right now, everything's been verbatim as far as each chapter and each episode, and back to back. So even if anybody just turns around and they start picking up like the first two books, like Game of Thrones is by far, it's just right there with the same episode as the actual show. So no worries on that. As far as for me and going through and reading these, there's really nothing to stress about when it comes to trying to reread the books now. And so yeah, so I guess I would encourage people, even though it's kind of late in the chapters, to still go ahead and to look into at least reading the first book, because if you read like the first book and maybe even the second book, it'll just give you a little bit more of an understanding as far as what was going on in the episodes. And since those episodes have already aired, and since they're so similar to the book, then it really wouldn't hurt. It would just help to explain a little bit more about the story that's going on.
It never does bother me to just go ahead and read something. I've always been a big reader.
Yeah. So and that's why my own self, when it came to trying to go through and read the books versus just watching the show, I always worried if I was going to end up with a whole new mindset of the story because of how the book is how the book differs from the show, but this is the kind of show that it's almost the same thing as far as when George R. R. Martin was a part of the production of the show. So he made sure to highlight certain things that are needed in the chapters, and to make it flow just as well as the actual story does in the books. So I do applaud him for that, because sometimes people end up kind of like when you're the actual narrator and you create the story, you tend to kind of let other people come in and mess up your vision of the storyline when they produce it into a show or film. But with George R. R. Martin, he really did make sure to pay attention to the storyline.
I believe it was, who was it that said this? It was one very famous, great author said that whenever he sold one of his books to Hollywood, it was like, I think it was Hemingway. He said he would take it, like handing it over the fence, and then just leave because they were sure to fuck it up.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that Hollywood is very notorious for doing that. Like, and my whole thing is that I've never understood how someone who's an author would allow for just someone else in Hollywood to take their creative genius and to just butcher it, you know.
I tell you, one book that has done very well is To Kill a Mockingbird. Is done very well.
Yeah.
There's a few things that are done really well, and then other things that are just butchered.
Yeah, like the one for what is it? The movie The Birds. Like when I had to turn around and I had to read that for junior high, and then we watched it, I felt like the actual movie of it did better telling the story than the story did, you know?
Huh.
But that was just from an impression of a junior high school kid. So never know. If I was to ever
reread it
like, and then rewatch it, I might get something different.
You know, then that I reread, I usually get a different take on it later.
Yeah. I mean, mind you, that was around the same time when I would turn around and link up Pink Floyd's The Wall to what movie was that it was supposed to sync up to?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I mean,
Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, something like that. And so, like, my own self, I considered that to be ingenious. So yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, A Clockwork Orange was a great. Yeah, I'm back. A Clockwork Orange was a great movie and a great book as well.
It was a crazy movie,
It was a
y'all.
crazy movie. I mean, I just felt so sorry for that guy, even though he was technically a criminal or whatever he was supposed to be, but he was really, really done wrong in that. He really, really was. He was tortured, and I felt sorry for him. And it seemed like everywhere he went, he was just tortured more and more and more until he finally made it to the hospital. And then apparently they tortured him even more. And it was just, oh man, I really, really felt sorry for him. And Malcolm McDowell, I think he was the actor who played, I can't remember his name, but he really did a great job with that. People in the chat, do you have any questions? Please post them now if you have any questions. Oh yeah, we do have a question from Shayna.
Okay.
Was watching Tony P earlier. He was talking about Melisandre's endgame. I like the idea of Melisandre's recants her hatred of the great other and implicates the children. Melisandre, yeah, I think she's gonna end up dying in the end. I mean, they probably could have said it. Yeah, I think she's gonna be burned up. You know, I think she's gonna, find herself finally being burned. And I always thought it was really, really ironic that she was burning so many people. But in my mind, she was the witch, and she was the one that should have been getting burned. And I think she's finally gonna, meet her end in the last season. I really think she's gonna be burned at the stake. Like all.
I think she might sacrifice herself.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
something.
I think she's gonna walk into the flames willingly in some kind of sense, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't catch Tony Teflon's broadcast, but he's always very insightful, and I really like him, and I enjoy his videos and such. I didn't see it, so I'm not really sure, the scope of the question or what wavelength, but I believe Melisandre's in game. She's going to sacrifice herself because for as much as she is wrong, she does know that there's something very special about Daenerys and Jon Snow, and I believe she'll sacrifice herself in order to further them so that we can have an end game.
Yeah. Like, I do see Melisandre in one way or another walking into the flames. And I think the name of the red god is R'hllor. And I think that R'hllor is gonna turn around and there's gonna be like a big bonfire, something's gonna happen, or the whites start attacking and there's gonna be a fire and it's gonna speak to her and she's gonna set herself aflame, and that's just gonna change the tide for everything. Either that or John or Dany might end up dying and she might use her life force and sacrifice herself to bring one of them back to life.
Yeah, that would be.
I can see that too.
Yeah. Or what if like that ice dragon comes up and, she's always talking about how she is burning, how she's flame, she's fire, what if she puts herself in the way of that ice breath, and shields either Jon or Daenerys, maybe something like that even.
That would be very interesting there. Yeah, but that does bring up a point because since the followers of R'hllor, they do believe in the dragons because the dragons are flame, like the flesh, like
Fire
the flames in the flesh. Yeah, fire. I was trying to think of how did they say it, like fire made flesh, and so I think that it might end up happening where she's in front of a dragon and the dragon fire is what purifies her but kills her at the same time. That could be a possibility too.
Yeah, or the dragon ice. That I can see maybe something like, and then she told Varys, if we're going TV show here, she told Varys, you have to die here, I have to die here. So she knows she's going to die there.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
And she also does carry guilt for what happened to Shireen. She does. I feel like she does.
Yeah, because she led, Stannis pretty much to his end, and I think she's done that in the books as well.
Yeah,
But,
and I know at least in the TV show this last season, she admitted, like when Varys came up on her, I'm talking about the conversation they had on the cliff, and she was like, and then also when she's talking to Daenerys, and she's like, well, prophecy is a tricky thing. So I think she kind of has learned her lesson the hard way, and I believe she'll self-sacrifice herself in some kind of way.
Yeah.
I wanted to discuss the dragons for a second, and I can't even remember what I was going to say about them. Oh, I want to know what's going to happen when Samuel finds out about what Dany has done to, his father and his brother. I'm very interested.
Oh, yeah. And I really like Sam. I know I said the other day my favorite character was Sansa, but I really love Sam too. I always have.
I mean, I think it might be bittersweet for Sam because, mind you, his father always was always torturing him, just kind of like how Tyrion would do with Tyrion in a sense. And so for him, like hearing his father died might be one thing, but hearing his brother went and sacrificed himself too, I think that would actually get to Sam.
I mean, I can't see, there being, nothing. There has to be something. There has to be something there. I mean, I'm sorry, there has to be a confrontation.
Even if all he does is just breaks down or something, something.
Well, Jon wasn't in agreement with that happening, and Jon is more like Sam's brother than his own brother was. I mean, the second version of Dick and Tarly we got, was kind of more sympathetic, but remember the one we got at the dinner table who basically laughed in his face, And I also think this is going to put Sam in a position to be Lord of Hornhill.
Now, I do wonder, does John even know that Daenerys did burn the Tarleys? Or
Well, I don't think it ever got to it, but I'm sure that he will know. And you know, we know Tyrion and Varys know, and they were not in agreement with it.
True. Especially Tyrion. When Varys heard about it,
to a statement that Robert made to Ned. He was like, he was talking about his own brothers. He was talking about Renly and Stannis, and he said, "You're the brother I chose." So John is the brother Sam chose. John didn't really agree with what she did. He does kind of understand it because, like, she asked him, "How many people did y'all kill taking back Winterfell? You know, maybe you didn't burn them alive with dragons, but you killed people that were once your own bannermen."
Well, so, I mean, you can't, but I mean, you can't really compare the Boltons and the rest of them, you know, to the Tarleys, because the Tarleys at heart were good people. The Boltons were not. I mean, they got everything they deserved. The Tarleys didn't deserve what they got, at least in my opinion.
I think it was overkill, and so did Tyrion and Varys. You know,
it made
but I believe she was trying to set an example.
Yeah, and like as far as Daenerys is concerned, she did turn around and she did ask him, like, "Are you sure?" And she even turned around and she even asked his brother, what is Sam's brother's name? Dickon, yes. And so she did turn around and she was trying to tell him, like, hey, Dickon, like, are you sure you don't have to suffer the sins of your father? Like, I can make another allegiance with you. But
I don't think Sam will be surprised at all to hear that his brother held up with his father. That's what he was raised to do.
True. Because
I don't think Sam will be surprised at all. Will he be resentful? Will he think it's wrong? Yeah, I think he will. But we know Sam is a reasonable, kind person. You know?
And so as long as
it out.
Yeah, and what about Jorah?
Jorah.
I mean, and Jorah and Samuel saving him from the grayscale, and I mean that whole mess.
That's going to come into play. The fact of what she did to his family, and the fact that she saved one of her closest friends, that's going to come back to bite her in the ass. I've always thought that.
Oh yeah,
and that being John's best friend too. That's going to somehow cause some kind of ruckus or resentment to crop up.
Oh yeah,
and that's why, like, it's unfortunate, but then again, like, from Daenerys' standpoint, like, if she worries too much about trying to make too many friends and she doesn't stay on her actual plan of trying to get rid of the current politics, then it's gonna end up playing on her emotionally and having to deal with this.
Exactly. I believe Alina Tyrell's advice was the best advice that she's gotten when Lady Olenna told her, said, "Look, you're a dragon. Be a dragon."
Well, I mean, yeah, I understand that, but she's still a person, and a dragon doesn't have to, you know, pay the consequences of his actions most of the time, but a person really does. And I think that there should be some sort of a payment. She needs to suffer for that. I'm sorry, and I know there are a lot of Dany fans out there, but that whole baggage train mess made her look so desperate. I mean, Cersei was whooping her at every turn, whooping her for 3 episodes straight, and then she does this really, really desperate move with the baggage train, loot, you know, attack, and it's just okay.
True.
Okay.
And that's kind of why, like, it's so hard for Daenerys right now, because she needs to have that power and she needs to have that control. But then on the other side, if she ends up having it's like she did try to give compassion at that moment, but when you end up having someone that is so stubborn then and they don't leave you anything else. Like what else can you do in that
I mean,
moment?
it is true. You know, when Sam knows his father, Sam does know his father's nature. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. And so
if
if he
anything,
finds out that she did give him like the option, then that could turn around and play completely different if they just go in and just say, oh, well, she just burnt her family out of nowhere kind of deal, you know, like, and so it kind of just depends on who is it that gets to Sam's ear first kind of situation. And then from there, whatever they implant into his head is what she'll have to contest with. And that's just the only downfall about that. But if she looks at him and says, well, I gave him the option, he didn't want to turn around and join up on my side.
I want to give a shout out here to my really good friend, Maria Hill. She has always believed, and this is strictly from reading the book, but now I kind of see where she was going with it. She has always believed that there is going to become a rift between John and Sam. And I can see where this could possibly jump it off, but she I think believes that it's going to be over baby Sam, because somehow that's what the White Walkers want. I don't know. We've talked about it at length. She would have to go into her theory more with you, but I just want to give her a shout out on that. She has always believed, though, that eventually John and Sam are going to have a fallout, and it's going to really affect our story.
Yeah, where is Marie? Where is Marie? I haven't heard from her.
We messaged not long ago. She's doing good. She's just chilling. Just, you know, she says live stream's not really her thing.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I understand. And I'm not trying to pressure her. I was just wondering where she was. I haven't.
No, but she's always welcome. You know, we know that. We're all inclusive here.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
but
she just doesn't prefer live stream.
Yeah, I understand.
Also, she's on the other side of the world over there in Australia, you know, so our times are way different.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Any questions in the chat? Please post them now. There really wasn't much to talk about in this chapter, as you know, as opposed to
it was a very short chapter, actually.
No, it was short, but it stayed on par even as far as the show. So that's kind of where I liked it from my reading.
Too. I mean, that breakfast scene is practically verbatim.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was a very good chapter, though it was very short. It picked up right where it left off with Bran and his fall.
I think what it really does for this chapter in particular, I think what it really does is show us the dynamics between the Lannister siblings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. It's a very strained relationship that they all have with each other. Very strained, and it's not just on Tyrion's end. It's
no, not at all. All of them have a very. Even Jaime and Cersei's relationship is very. You know, we see later it's basically held together by a thread, and by the fact of they've already done these things, and the fact that they share children. Though at first Jaime really cares very little about his children. It's only much later. And they make him way more sympathetic to his children in the show.
Yeah.
From what I've seen thus far. You know, we don't get much fatherly affection or even, you know, from him.
Yeah, it is a very weird dynamic, you know, with those kids. I mean, he has to kind of, for appearance's sake, he has to keep himself at arm's length from them.
And I think that's what, you know, I think he does love them and he wants to love them, but for their own safety and for his own safety and for Cersei's own safety, he has to play the kind of distant uncle.
Yeah.
You know, Tyrion is much closer to the children. Yeah. Also, nice children. I'm not speaking about that little shit Joffrey. But children are very much less judgmental than adults. So I think Tyrion feels, you know, more of a kindred sense with the children. Like he can talk to them without being made fun of. They don't see fault in him. They see somebody who's different and fun.
Yeah, they just see their uncle. and they
Right.
know him, but they don't. Yeah, they don't put him down like the others do.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
And it was really sad that because when he did to Marcella, sending her off to Dorne, and I mean, I can't
He did
believe.
it. That was really the best place for her, though. At the time, he was thinking,
No, it
if
was not.
if we lose this battle,
Not in
you
my
know,
opinion. I disagree. I think that was the worst place she could go. Those Dornish, she knew. I mean, he knew what those Dornish people were doing, and that they were enemies to the family, the Lannister family, and he did that. Hmm. And I think he just did that just to spite Cersei.
I do wonder if a part of it might have actually been like a ploy to actually hurt Cersei, because
Yeah.
you have to think like in Dorne, like they have it to where they're still pissed about what happened to their princess,
Mhm.
and then to end up sending your princess over there to Dorne, and
Yeah.
then
I mean,
afterwards Oberyn was killed too by the Mountain, and yeah, I mean, in a sense, maybe it could have been safer for Marcella, but then again, because of how the dynamics between the Lannisters and the Martells have been playing out, it would kind of make someone else kind of pause to send their only daughter to Dorne and to be with the actual family that they've screwed over so many times, you know?
I mean,
well,
yeah.
before Ilya Martell was killed, Joanna Lannister and their mother was actually both at the court of, was it the Queen of Ares? What was her name? Rhaenys? What my memory's failing me.
Rhaenyra, I think.
Right, yeah, okay, Rhaenyra Targaryen. Okay, they were friends and had actually possibly thought of hooking Oberyn and Cersei up. So actually, this severe hatred between the Martells and the Lannisters is only one generation. So I really do believe Tyrion was trying to heal that alliance because he knew he couldn't stand against Dorne as well as Stannis, as well as the North.
True.
So I really think what he was doing was strategic, but like Cersei says to Oberyn in the show, little girls aren't safe anywhere in the world. And then he says to her, "Don't worry, we don't hurt little girls in Dorne." It's like little girls are hurt everywhere in the world.
Yeah, yeah,
And
and
they
and
are.
that
So I really don't, yeah, I think maybe he was trying to hurt her, but I definitely don't think Tyrion was trying to hurt Marcella at all. He had a genuine fondness for those two children. Now Joffrey, like he said, he wished he had poisoned him, but he didn't know.
I want to give a shout out to Pete Easy. Thank you for joining
Oh, hey,
our
Pete.
chat tonight. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
thanks, Pete.
Yeah, we're talking about Tyrion, and the chapter tonight was about Tyrion and his time in Winterfell, the first chapter of the Game of Thrones book. And it's a very, very short chapter, but a lot of information about other people popped up in this chapter. A lot of animosity. You really get to see into the mind of Tyrion and how well read he is and how he treats other people and what he thinks about himself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a very interesting chapter, and I enjoyed it. It was short, and I liked it. It didn't take that long for me to read. It was about 14 minutes, so
That's another thing. Even if you're not a big reader, you
yeah.
can read these books because they're broken down. Anybody, you can read, of course, I can read 400 pages in one sitting, but I mean, really though, anybody can read these books and just do like one chapter a day. Some chapters wouldn't even take you 10 or 15 minutes.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Even if you're
kind
a
of
slower
compound
reader.
and read like a couple of chapters a day, actually, because like some of the chapters are like tonight's chapter wasn't even 10 pages altogether, you know.
Yeah.
So
Right.
It's not bad. It's not bad for people who are not used to reading.
yeah.
So definitely, check out the Song of Ice and Fire series. Absolutely, check out that. For any book reader, they should check out the Song of Ice and Fire. At least those 5 books. Really great.
Definitely.
Um, is there anything else? I think we've lost the Lord of the Last Hearth to a storm.
We did. Tony dropped off. I'm not really sure what happened.
Mhm.
Yeah,
he said that
something might have cropped up.
he had a power outage because of a storm, and I don't think he's gonna make it back tonight.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Well,
he said he's trying, but I don't believe so.
Right.
But who knows? Any questions in the chat? Please post them now. I want to give a shout out to Alicia. Thank you so much for joining us. I know it was only a few minutes,
she's
but I
always
appreciate
fun.
it. Yeah, she's always fun. And
yeah, she is.
Yeah, and I love the hat that she wears as well. She looks so fly, babe. Yeah.
Yeah, she's always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And knowledgeable.
Yeah, I love. Yeah,
we can get you a hat like that, Misha.
Oh no,
Crystal has a little hat like that.
Oh, that's okay. No, that's her trademark. Let me try to find a trademark of my own.
I used to have a little hat like that. It was very expensive. I ordered it for myself for my birthday, but it was white and it got makeup on it, so I gave it away.
Yeah. Are there any questions in the chat? Because if there isn't, I think we're all talked out. If there isn't anything else to talk about, any other subject you would like to talk about?
No, I don't think there is, but I will say this. I do think Tyrion makes it to the end. I'm going to say that about him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. George R. Martin has confessed that Tyrion is his favorite character. And it was his favorite character to write. So I agree with you. He is going to make it to the end. Absolutely.
I would hope so. I mean, because that's the only thing is that with George R. Martin is that he loves to kill off everyone's favorite characters. So I would think that he wouldn't hold back even on his own character, but his own favorite character. But you never know, because as the author, he can always turn around and spin the story any way he would like. So
yeah. And I ought to not be celebrating that. I'm as bad as the Alabama football players celebrating for it. I'm
already trying to cash in on your win, and there's still 2 minutes left. And so you can't do that with Game of Thrones, because the minute that you think that...
I'm telling you. I'll never forget, y'all, last year I was at the Oakland game, and I'm dancing a little jig, and then we lose the damn game in the last 2 minutes. I looked like a fool. Y'all.
See, and that's why none of us as fans can turn around and really pinpoint who's going to be there at the end of the actual the series, because even though the show is going one way, the books could end up going a completely different way. And then in the end, you might have a character that's still alive on the show, but then he or she ends up getting killed off in the actual scheme of things, in the actual story. And so that's kind of one of the things that is just, you can never bet when it comes to Game of Thrones, because George R. R. Martin or Dan and Dave could always just throw us a curveball and
I'm telling you.
And end up ruining the whole thing. And then the last person that we want to see alive is Cersei, and she's sitting there on the throne all those. People will riot in the street, but honestly, there's nothing you can do, kind of deal,
And if Cersei makes it to the end, I'm going to be thrown for a loop.
Strangely enough, I think she will. I think, she'll be like the last person, to get killed off. I really believe, at least in the books, I think she's going to make it to the end of the books.
Mm-hmm. I'll be damned. Do you really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I just feel like her death will come, toward the end of her life when she's an old woman. Not what I just feel like, she's going to live. She's going to outlive everyone.
Yeah.
But then there's someone going to come along when she's old, like Olena's age. And someone's going to take her down then.
And see, and that would be just the most depressing for a lot of fans, because everybody has been doing nothing but waiting for Cersei to die. And if it turns out that Cersei ends up still having a few good years left in her after all of this is done. People are just going to flip out, and then you end up having that one extra scene that ends up cropping out, and she's like old and ancient and has destroyed almost anything and everything throughout her tirade, and then they just quietly retire her somewhere, and that's when she finally gets off by someone off, and everybody's just like, oh man, we waited all this time just to see Cersei die off, and it wasn't even as good as what we thought it would be, kind of deal, you know.
Oh, it's gonna have to be epic.
It has to be, but you never know. They could end up making it so bland of a death, and then everybody's just like, really, it was so anticlimactic kind of scene. So I don't know. I'm not gonna put too much enthusiasm into what I think is going to happen with Cersei. I do hope they do kill her off soon, like maybe in the first couple of episodes of season 8, but then you never know. They could always end up having her outlive everybody, and she's still on that Iron Throne, even though it's been half blown to smithereens. But yeah.
I just feel like her death is coming when she's older, not when she's, the young and beautiful section.
Yeah, not while she's caught up in this game right now.
Yeah, I just feel like she's still, the boss queen until someone else comes along, later on in life.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know who that young queen would be, but maybe it'll be Sansa. I don't know. Maybe
I think it'll be Sansa. I've always thought that. I know I get a lot of people who don't like this opinion, but Sansa's coming up, man. But then again, I do think there's something to the names of the direwolves, and Arya's direwolf's name is Nymeria.
Yeah, but
okay, there you go.
Nymeria, the queen, after the Roynish queen.
Yeah, the Roynish queen who,
So
I think there's something to that. I always have. I mean, if you look at their names, I mean, it does fit with, what's going on with, like, if Bran is the new three-eyed crow and he eventually is the one who defeats the Night's King, then he brings the summer. Jon has come back from the dead, so he could technically be a ghost, or some people, see what I'm saying? They do fit. They do fit. So I believe there's something to that.
Well,
although I would wonder though, because in order to get rid of Cersei and to put someone else on the throne, like there has to either she has to relinquish that on her own, or she has to die, and then someone has to turn around and figure out how they're going to appoint Sansa as the new queen. And so that's the only thing that would be a little tricky about that is trying to figure out how they would get rid of Cersei but still keep her alive. It would have to happen either. I mean, because they never dethroned her after what happened to the Great Sept, and that would have been the best time to just turn around and to have a lynch mob just go in and take her out real quick,
Yeah, everybody's scared of her.
Yeah, and so in order to get rid of,
I want to point out something. And I didn't even. I think I caught this on my second watch. Okay, you know how Cersei gets her hair cut off and shit. Well, the queen always sets the standards at court. If you notice that her serving lady that come in, like they all have their hair cut short now, and they're all kind of dressing in that black because they're all, everybody, and it's just kind of showing too. Everybody kind of goes with the flow most of the time. Nobody wants to be. Very few people are the hero,
And that's why I like the faith, the militant faith, when they were there and they were challenging pretty much the court. Like that's why you had such a following, because they were just regular common folk, but because of their faith and because of their numbers, they ended up having more power and more strength than the actual royal family, or in a sense, the royal family. And so that's why it became so popular, and that's why she ended up having the downfall that she did, was because the people actually found a voice for themselves and they rose up against her. But in the process of that, she ended up trying to take out as many royals as she could, and her enemies, and even people of her own court and everything. Like she just went and she took out all of them all at once without any type of hesitation, and it caused the ripple effect. But in the end, she still remained supreme, and she still ended up in power, and she didn't have to relinquish her power, and so I could see, like, in the books, if her power is relinquished to like Marjorie, and it's because of marriage that ends up happening. And so something else, I as far as the books are concerned, I don't even think she even reaches to get towards the actual throne, and she still ends up playing like that back game, like she was playing even with her children, and when she had King Robert around too. So that's kind of how I see that playing out.
Well, yeah, I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
But with Cersei, who knows? I mean, she's one of them characters that I can't guess, what
True.
she'll be doing and what she won't be doing. I mean, I've read over that Feast for Crows and her 10 chapters in a Feast for Crows, and all I can do is shake my head at her. I can't wait till you start up in Feast for Crows and you get to see inside of Cersei's mind. I just, oh man, I don't know what Cersei's doing, man. It's like from the beginning, from the first chapter, she just makes one mess after the other, and it's just, oh.
Well,
I mean, I don't
guess
know what she's gonna be doing.
Well, with her being royal, of royalty now, and then of her being from a highborn family, it's kind of notorious for those individuals to end up creating one disaster after another, all in the name of them being of a higher status than everyone else and being allowed to do whatever they feel or please. So I do at least credit George R. R. Martin for the way that she has her arrogance, because it does play into how royal families used to see themselves and how some still do see themselves. So
she's a great character, that's for sure. I will say this about Cersei: her end is coming, but I'm gonna miss her when she's gone.
Yeah,
I'm gonna miss that crazy hoe.
I'm gonna turn around I'm gonna turn around.
She's like that one crazy hoe friend you have, who you just are like, I don't know if we can take her, because they ain't no telling what might pop off.
But see, I don't know which one it would be even better, because when I had seen Arya and how she took out the phrase, that turned around and that made an epic deal for me. But then again, when Jon Snow came back, that was epic too. So seeing Cersei die, if she's gonna die, it needs to be something completely amazing to where everybody falls out of their chair again,
It needs to be like Arya killing her or something. It needs to be so epic.
Yes.
And
yes.
I love the way Sansa told Arya, like, you're crazy and annoying, but I love you. You're weird. What is she called her a weirdo?
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny. I just did a rewatch of the last season the other day, so it's
okay.
fresh on my mind. Yeah, we did the very last scene when she's like, well, you're still weird and annoying, but I love you.
She's just a little more weirder and more.
I just gotta find a television show.
Okay, since you all are talked out, let's go ahead and end it for tonight. You want to go ahead and do your outros?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, bye everybody. I'm Jen. It was good talking about this chapter. I think it's a short, but definitely a pertinent chapter. And you can find me on Facebook under Jennifer Wolverton. Unless I think you're some kind of weirdo stalker, I accept all friend requests.
Go ahead, Shelley.
Okay.
Looking good.
And yeah, I still have my so much stuff that I'm going through, and now I also have this crazy child that needs to go to bed because she's driving bonkers. So yeah, my brain. I know I'm supposed to plug stuff, but my brain. Thank you all for joining us and joining our crazy people.
Uh, Thank you all so much for staying with us tonight. Thank you to Money G, Pete Easy, Shayna Septa Sapphires. Thank you to Alicia. Thank you to what's his name, Lord of the Last Hearth. Thank you all so much for jumping into our chat. And hopefully we'll have another guest for next week. My name is Maavia, but please just call me Misha. And you can find me on YouTube on this channel. You can find me on Instagram under Misha.
That's a gorgeous name. I was pronouncing your name wrong.
Huh? My name, my first name, Maavia?
Yeah, say it again, Myavia. I love that.
Yeah, Maavia. Maavia.
I was pronouncing the I wrong.
No,
That's a gorgeous name, Misha.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. That's my mom. She liked that. It was one of her students was named.
Okay, that's gorgeous. I mean, look,
And
when
she
you're named
named me after
Jennifer, somebody says Jennifer, and all five of you turn around, you know?
Basically.
Yeah, my name is Maavia, but call me Misha, which is my middle name, by the way, if you didn't know. So call me Misha, and you can find me on Instagram under Misha_Houston. You can also find me on Facebook under Misha Houston or Maavia Lightfoot, my name. You can I'm right now I'm trying to work on my what's it called? That the Sansa analysis, Sansa and the dangers of winds, the safety of winds, and I am going to put up that chapter tomorrow. I said it last week, but I just didn't have the time. So I am going to put that up there. And thank you, Money G, for the compliment. Thank you, Pete Easy, also for the compliment of my name. I know I've never really go by it, but thank you very much.
It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you so much. And yes, thank you. And you can find me anywhere but Twitter. I'm not on Twitter. So just find me on Facebook and Instagram and on YouTube. And we will be back next week. We're going to be doing John. I think this is the second John chapter.
Yeah, I think John.
Yeah, John 2 or John 3. Then we're doing John, and he's making his way. He's leaving Winterfell, and he's making his way on to the wall. I think Tony said that he wanted to do this chapter, and if he doesn't do it, then I will do the overview.
Well, if he doesn't do it, I'll try my crack at it if that's okay. Yeah, okay, yeah. I want to try.
Okay, that'll be fine. That'll be fine. If you are going on with the books and trying to read them, yeah, you can definitely have a chapter for yourself.
Yeah,
or a few chapters for yourself. It's a long book. Yeah, we will be doing John next week, and he's leaving Winterfell, and he will make his way onto the wall.
Yeah, my brother said I better find another show, and I said no. We doing the books. We ain't even halfway through the book.
No, we ain't even anywhere near half of the first book. So yeah, we've got quite a lot of content, and I have quite a lot of time to get into. We'll probably at least be into the second book by the time season 8 comes in or so.
We'll probably be making our way, through the first, maybe moving on toward the second, maybe for sure. It's a lot of chapters, and it's all beautiful read all together, no doubt about it. Right. So thank you everyone for joining our chat, and we will be back next week at 9 p.m. Central. Check us out if you're able, and we'll try to get another guest in for you.
All right.
Thank you everyone, and good night. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Y'all hold on. I want to talk to y'all.
Okay. Okay. Let me cut it off. Good night, everybody.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.